My name is Evelyn. I'm 61 years old, and for the last 8 years, I've lived with the truth I thought was final. My husband, Mark, died in a car accident. I buried his belongings, held a funeral, and tried every day to accept the silence that followed his absence. But grief has a strange way of clinging to you, like the smell of rain long after the storm has passed. You learn to walk, breathe, talk, but never entirely forget. This year, I finally decided to do something I had been too afraid to try: travel. Maybe to run, maybe to understand, or maybe because there was nothing left to stay for. So I sold the house, the one where every wall still whispered his name, and bought a small RV, just big enough to fit my clothes, an old box of memories, and a heart still cracked in places. I didn't tell many people. My daughter lives states away with her own family, and somewhere along the years we drifted apart without meaning to. So I packed quietly, locked the door one last time, and drove away. I traveled across states, stopping near lakes, small towns, and places where time seemed to move slower. For the first time in years, I felt air in my lungs that wasn't heavy. One afternoon, after a long drive through winding forest roads, I parked at a peaceful RV campground near Oregon. The trees stood tall, swaying gently as if greeting every traveler who stopped beneath their shade. Children rode bicycles, couples roasted marshmallows, and birds sang from somewhere deep in the woods. I stepped out, stretched, and smiled slightly, a real smile, something I hadn't felt in so long it almost felt unfamiliar. I walked toward the small campground cafe to grab coffee. The TV on the wall was playing a travel vlog, just background noise, until a familiar laugh cut through the room. My heart froze. For a moment, I didn't breathe. It couldn't be that laugh. I turned slowly toward the screen, coffee forgotten in my hand. The camera showed a group of RV travelers sitting around a fire. They were introducing themselves, talking about life on the road. And then, there he was, my husband. Same voice, same laugh, same way he rubbed the back of his neck when he was nervous. A few more wrinkles, a beard, longer hair, but undeniably him, alive, breathing, smiling, talking about how he'd been off the grid for almost a decade and finally free. My knees weakened and I gripped the table to steady myself. My vision blurred as tears filled my eyes. I whispered the words I never thought I'd say again. "Mark?" The cafe owner glanced at me. "Ma'am, you all right?" I couldn't answer. My world was spinning. The funeral, the police report, the condolences, the nights I cried myself to sleep believing he was gone. How? Why? My hands trembled as I replayed his voice in my mind. He was alive. And not just alive, but living happily, filming videos, traveling, and acting as if I never existed. I watched the screen until the video ended, my breath shallow, my heart racing. Then I did something I never imagined I'd do again. I searched the RV park. Every face, every campsite, every fire pit. I needed to see him in person, to confirm whether grief had finally broken me or whether the impossible was true. And then I saw him, sitting beside a silver RV, drinking coffee, laughing with a stranger. The world stopped. My heart shattered, not with grief this time, but with betrayal. I stood frozen, hidden behind a nearby RV, watching the man I buried 8 years ago sit there like nothing ever happened. My breath shook as I gripped the edge of a picnic table for balance. I kept waiting for my mind to correct itself, for logic to return, for someone to tell me this was just a coincidence or a dream or another cruel trick of grief. But it wasn't. It was him. The way he tilted his head when listening, the scar above his eyebrow from when he fell off a ladder, the way he tapped his fingers against his knee when deep in thought. These were not details memory invents. These were truths etched into my bones. I stepped forward slowly, each foot heavy, as if the earth resisted what was about to happen. When I finally stood close enough for him to hear, I whispered softly, "Mark." His smile faded instantly. His eyes widened, shock slicing through him like lightning. The mug slipped from his hand and shattered against the ground. The man sitting next to him stared between us, confused. But I didn't care. The world narrowed until it was just him and me. "Evelyn," he breathed, standing slowly as if afraid I might disappear. My chest tightened with anger, grief, disbelief, everything at once. "You're alive," I said, voice trembling. "You're alive, and you let me believe you were dead." He swallowed hard, guilt thick in his eyes. "I can explain." "Explain?" I laughed, broken, breathless. "Explain how I picked out a headstone, how I folded your clothes for the last time, how I put flowers on an empty grave?" He looked down, shame pulling his shoulders forward. I had to leave. "Had to?" I shot back. "Mark, you abandoned me. You disappeared. You let me drown in grief for 8 years. He winced. "I didn't want to hurt you." A bitter smile formed on my lips. "You failed miserably." The stranger finally stood and quietly excused himself, leaving us alone, standing between his new life and the ashes of mine. I crossed my arms, trying to hold myself together. Was it all fake? My voice softened, not weak, but raw. Our marriage? Our life? Me? Tears gathered in his eyes, and for a second I saw the man I once knew, the man I loved. "No," he whispered. "I loved you, but..." I was trapped. Confusion cut through the rage. Trapped? By what? He hesitated, then ran a hand through his hair. Debt, business partners, threats. I made mistakes, bad ones. People were after me, dangerous people. If they found you, they would have used you to get to me. My stomach twisted. So instead of trusting me, instead of giving me the chance to face it with you, you vanished. You chose to die in my world. He nodded slowly. "I thought disappearing was the only way to protect you." I shook my head. "Protect me? You destroyed me." The wind rustled through the trees, the campground suddenly feeling unbearably still. His voice cracked. "I watched you from afar. Birthdays, holidays. I knew you were okay. I just couldn't go back." My knees weakened again, but this time it wasn't shock. It was exhaustion. 8 years of grief turned into betrayal, anger, and a grief all over again, but different. He reached out gently. "Evelyn, you weren't supposed to find me." I stepped back, but I did. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in my RV, staring at the ceiling, replaying every word, every expression, every memory. The storm of emotions inside me didn't calm. It grew louder. Love and anger don't cancel each other. They sit side by side, tearing you apart. By morning, I knew I needed answers. Not fragments, not excuses. The whole truth. I walked back to his RV. He was sitting alone, eyes red as if he hadn't slept either. When he saw me approach, he stood silently. "We need to talk," I said. He nodded and gestured for me to sit at a wooden picnic bench outside. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then finally, he exhaled shakily. Everything fell apart fast. Business deals, people I trusted, everything turned ugly. I was in debt I couldn't escape. I borrowed money from the wrong people. They threatened me, then they threatened you. My pulse quickened. Why didn't you tell me? He shook his head. Because you would have tried to save me, even if it meant destroying yourself. I opened my mouth to protest, but deep down, I knew he was right. I always tried to fix things, even things that weren't mine to fix. When the police told me I died, he continued, voice fragile, it wasn't a lie I fed them. The car accident happened, and they assumed I was the body found. I saw it as a sign. He swallowed. A way out. My eyes burned. So you just accepted it? I thought disappearing was the safest thing. For who? I whispered. Silence answered. He rubbed his face, exhausted. At first, I kept moving, never staying anywhere long. Then as years passed, the danger faded. But by then, I was afraid, ashamed. I didn't know how to walk back into your life after destroying it. I looked away, blinking back tears. You could have called. One call, one message, one sign that you were alive. His voice cracked. I thought you deserved a chance to rebuild without me. I laughed softly, broken. I didn't rebuild, Mark. I survived. His shoulders trembled. I never stopped loving you. I closed my eyes. You loved me enough to disappear, but not enough to come back. The words hung between us, painful and true. After a long pause, he finally said, So now that you know, what do you want? I looked at him, really looked at him. At the man who was both familiar and foreign. I don't know, I whispered, but I know I can't pretend you're dead anymore. The next days were quiet. We crossed paths around the campground, exchanged small nods, shared short conversations, cautious steps on fragile ground. I was learning who he had become, and he was learning who grief had made me. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the trees, he knocked softly on my RV door. Walk with me? He asked. I hesitated, then nodded. We walked along the gravel path, the twilight soft and forgiving, the air carrying the scent of pine and distant campfires. I've been thinking, he said. I never expected a second chance, not with life, not with you. My heart tightened. This isn't a second chance. It's a truth we can't undo. He nodded. I know, but maybe it can be a beginning. I stopped walking. A beginning requires trust, and you shattered mine. He looked at me with eyes full of regret. Tell me what you need. I took a slow breath. Time, honesty, and space to decide whether loving you again is healing or reopening a wound. He nodded gently. I can give you that. For the first time since seeing him, I felt something shift. Not forgiveness, not acceptance, but possibility. We walked back in silence, but it wasn't the same silence as before. This one wasn't filled with grief. It was filled with unanswered questions, unspoken hope, and the fragile thread of something unfinished. Before we parted, he paused. Evelyn, thank you for not walking away. I met his eyes and whispered, I already did, 8 years ago. Now I'm deciding if I want to walk back. He nodded, understanding more in silence than words could ever hold. I returned to my RV, sat by the window, and watched him disappear into the fading light. My life had broken twice, once when I lost him, and once when I found him again. But for the first time, I wasn't drowning in grief. I was standing at the edge of something new, something uncertain, but finally mine to choose. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough.